This is 3 simple lines of code to automate Excel. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to use them. You'll be able to automate your own tasks, whether to use VBA or Python to do that, avoid struggling when using a programming language, and I'll give you an automation action plan to keep building up those 3 lines of code to gradually automate more and more complex tasks. Having worked with Excel as an engineer for more than 10 years, I know how frustrating that can be to have to do important but time-consuming and very repetitive administrative tasks with Excel. It feels like wasting your actual skills on a task that a 10-year-old could be doing. So you might have thought to solve that problem before, and so you tried to learn VBA. And then you might have realized that it's not that easy and it's very time-consuming as well. And that's where the paradox comes in, because you don't have enough time to learn a programming language, but at the same time, you don't want to waste your skills on basic tasks that you could automate. And so maybe you heard about Python to solve that problem, but you don't want to risk wasting your time again. And so because of that, you might feel like you're running out of options, which is kind of frustrating. In order to solve that problem, let's clarify a few things about VBA. Learn VBA if you work with Excel. You probably heard that one before. Now, where does that come from? It comes from VBA being pre-installed on Excel from a long time ago. It has nothing to do with how easy it is to learn. It has to do with how easy it is to install, because there is literally nothing to install. But what are the problems with VBA though? To me, there are 2 main problems. It's just too slow. I'm an engineer, I don't have time, I don't care about learning. I want to solve my problem right now because I have a lot of things to do. I want to automate that and I want to move on. That's it. Here is what you're gonna hear all the time. VBA is super easy to learn, it doesn't take time. Here's my question though. How many of those people have a programming background? Well, in my experience, it's been a lot of people. One of the reasons why this is too slow is because of object-oriented programming, which is what you have to learn if you're gonna get started with VBA right from the start. Basically, you're gonna have to learn about methods and hidden properties. Now, what's a method? It's a function that is part of an object. What is a property? That's a variable that is part of an object. So what is a function and what is a variable? You get my point? It's basically an abstraction of other programming concepts, which is what makes it slow to learn. The second problem is the domain specificity of that programming language, meaning that it's just not a general programming language. You can't build real apps with it, you can't use modern tools with it, you can't scale with it. For example, you're not going to build a mobile app that is hosted online with a lot of users. So to be very clear, I'm not saying not to learn VBA. Here I'm just highlighting the problems that you might encounter if you decide to learn it. But if you are an absolute beginner and you work with Excel, I would not recommend VBA as a first programming language. In fact, if you tried and failed, these are the reasons why. So instead of VBA, what do you need? You need a beginner-friendly programming language for absolute beginners. You need something that is tailored to your specific situation, and in that case, it would be Python. Now, you might have heard that Python is an object-oriented programming language, and I just said that this was the very problem that we had with VBA. So what's the difference? There are 2 main differences. The first one is you don't have to use them at all. They're not required for you to implement anything. Even if you use objects, you don't need to fully understand them to get started. You don't have to build them from scratch, you can just use them as is. I will give you an example of how to do that in a second. Now, the reason why it doesn't need to take time to learn Python is because one action equals 1 line of code. For example, if you need to read an Excel file, open a new one, copy and paste the cell, then it's 3 steps, therefore 3 lines of code. Something else to keep in mind is that it's widely used. Why does that matter? Because AIs have been trained on things that are widely used. It's a lot more used than VBA. Therefore, AIs are going to help you learn it a lot faster. They're going to help you debug, and they're going to make a lot less mistakes when they're dealing with creating code. Anything standard now is becoming increasingly more valuable because of that reason. Today, we use AI more and more, so we need to be very careful about choosing tools that are compatible with it. Before we get into the code, if you are just getting started, I know that it can be tough, so that's the reason why I created a free online course. You can click on the link in the description to get it. So there is only 3 lines of code here. These are comments because of the pound sign at the beginning. Lines 2, 5, 8 are the actual lines of code. Line 2 loads the entire Excel file in the workbook variable. This is just what your Excel file name is. Line 5 loads a specific sheet of that Excel file into the variable worksheet. Now, how do we know which sheet is getting loaded into the worksheet variable? It's the one at the very left because it's numbered from 0. If these are the sheets, we have 0, 1, 2, and so on. In line 8, we select a specific cell, in this case row 3 and column 5, and we store that value into the variable called value. As strange as that sounds, that's all you need to know to get started. Now let me give you a 3-step action plan to keep building on that. Step 1 is make it work once. Get an Excel file, copy and paste the code that I gave you and make it work. Step 2, modify one single cell. The code that I gave you imports a specific cell. What you can do here is modify it based on what it is. For example, if that cell contains a number, then add 5 to it. That will make you learn how to manipulate the content of a cell. And step 3 is use it for real. Once you can change one cell, you can change all of them. That means you can process an entire Excel file now. I'll leave you with a few ideas to get you started. You could generate reports automatically, format Excel files in one click, automate repetitive data entry, fill PDFs from Excel data, save hours on repetitive administrative tasks. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.